I did not get a new webcam.
I can't figure out what the fuck's different, but it looks crisp. You look good.
Looking good.
Alan's
You're not
looking
in
really crisp,
mountain.
too.
You're not in mountain
Maybe
Wi-Fi.
my camera's in mountain mode. That's
I
why.
mean that's.
I'm like you're in like Los Angeles Wi-Fi, not mountain
Mhm.
Wi-Fi.
Maybe
That
that's
could be a
why.
thing.
That's the reason. Yep, you got it. You got it. Oh,
Now
okay.
Wi-Fi sucks.
Hey, welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to East of Anime, a podcast where we talk about anime. Surprise, surprise. Hi, I'm Big Man Moon. I'm one of your hosts. Right over here on the right is Helen 3D. She's one of your other hosts. Just below me is Panda. She's one of your other hosts. And today we have a guest on the bottom right is Hellspawn. And is there a number?
42.
42. Hellspawn 42. We're just going to call you Hellspawn. How's it going? How is everybody today?
I'm alive.
That was a bottom of the bar kind of answer. I'm alive. That's fair. Me too. Mostly.
I mean, I'm not doing anything totally.
Yeah.
exciting.
So the music broke. We were gonna have music, but broke. Don't know why. I'm on Linux, so
Oh no.
who knows?
Oh no.
How's your game going?
It's going. It is going. It is a thing that is happening. So thank you I appreciate your inquiry. Helen, how are you doing today? Tell me about your day. No?
No, Helen.
Hell?
Alan?
Oh, me?
Helen or Hell?
I thought you said hell. Did you say me or hell?
Oh no, that's gonna get confusing.
Just call me
Uh-oh.
Spawn.
Spawn, perfect, love it. That's what my mom calls me. Helen,
Yes.
how was your day?
Great. We got here at 9 a.m. in LA, and we hung out on the beach, and I got soaking wet, and it was amazing. And my kids had so much fun, and we just got checked into our room. So, whoop.
Nice, that is awesome. Panda, how are you doing?
Besides my earlier answer, I'm doing great actually.
Besides your earlier answer, it
Yeah.
hasn't changed.
No, I'm doing better. I'm doing really good actually. I'm feeling spirited this
No,
week. so-
oh good. That's lovely. That's
Yeah.
lovely. Spawn, how are you doing today?
I'm doing great. I'm excited for tonight. Actually.
Oh yeah, yeah. We're gonna be now. Do you mean Ted podcast, or do you have something going on?
Both.
Hey.
We got the podcast, and right after this on my channel, we'll be doing some giveaways. So
Ooh, fancy! What kind of giveaways?
we're doing a $25 gift card giveaway to any platform of your choosing, and a T-shirt
nice.
of either a Carl, my character's shirt, or one of our Spawn Squad shirts.
Ooh, very nice. You gotta hook me up, huh? No. I'm kidding. No, it's a wonderful giveaway. Very.
The Spawn Squad shirt just got made. It just got released. So
Oh heck yeah, that's awesome. Well, that is exciting. I had a lovely day. I was over in Colorado this week. Anybody else get that snowstorm? I think it snowed. Didn't it snow
In Colorado?
So,
in
we
Colorado?
had on Sunday, and then again on Tuesday. So we're not sure if we want to head back on Tuesday or if we want to wait till like Wednesday.
So
Okay, that's fair.
I got some snow.
Oh wait, is nobody? So so Panda, you got a little bit of snow, or?
I did in Albuquerque. Yeah, so I got
Okay.
like a day. It was beautiful. Then it was cloudy, and then it was snowy, and then it was rainy, and then it was beautiful, all within like 2 hours.
Hey,
That sounds about right.
that sounds.
we got about 5 inches of rain off that storm that went through
Oh, wow.
Colorado.
That's nice. I could go for that. It was a wet. That was a wet storm.
We got like 2.5 feet, but it wasn't wet.
Yeah. Yeah. Although I'll tell you what. So I looked at some of the totals. So So here's my thing. For some reason, I've lived in Colorado the vast majority of my life. I was born here, what have you. And every single March and April, we get blizzards. But then this year, people were losing their minds. Oh my God! It's going to snow. It's going to be 2 feet.
No,
Like last
remember-
year.
Yeah,
and the year
like last
before.
year.
Why are we panicking? Doesn't this happen? The Denver snowplows are pretty good. Like, it was clear that morning.
the 2003 snow?
I don't know. Yeah,
I remember
2003
that
was a
one.
blizzard. That was pretty good.
Wait, 2003, 2006.
2000
also had a
I
blizzard.
think there was a pretty good
It
one in
was the
2006.
big one.
Yeah, I remember that one though.
We had 6 feet of snow. It closed down everything.
Right.
I lived in Littleton. We were effed.
Right.
And I
Yeah.
got a week off of school right before spring break, so I got
Sure.
like 2 weeks. It was
Yeah,
amazing.
same.
That
Same.
sucked. That sucked for me because I remember that I had just gone on the first day of spring break, and that's when it did the blizzard that year.
Ooh.
I was like, "Damn it! Never! It'll never happen, guys."
I remember that too.
Ugh, but
They thought this storm was supposed to be that, and I was like, "There's no way."
well, no, and they
And
were
it was
predicting. They were
not.
predicting like 2 feet. They were predicting 24 inches in my area, and I was like, "Yeah, that's how much we always get. Why are we panicking this time?" I will say there was a place. It was called. It's renowned for getting a lot of snow. At like Oak Creek or something like that. Got 124 inches. Okay, that's a lot of snow. If that's over
Southern?
10 feet of snow, that
Yeah, we
would
were
shut
supposed to get
stuff
50,
down.
But we didn't get 50.
Right. Yeah, no, for sure. I think the closest place to, was some of the ski resorts. Actually, the ski resorts, they're happy. I think most of them got like at least 50 inches. So,
Yeah.
you know. But
Drove by, it looked like it mostly melted off.
Already, goodness.
Yeah.
Like Bale was like already like.
ooh, that's very sad.
I mean, but Loveland looked great.
Oh. Ski resorts. I've been skiing before. Haven't done it in years. It's because I live here. All the tourists ski.
Right? It's like everyone in Colorado scuba dives.
They do actually. I know
know,
so
I know.
many people here that scuba dive. And it's like, what are we doing?
I used to be one of those.
Did you? Yeah.
I'm also
We
used to
literally
be a
have
skier.
scuba diving centers.
We
I
have-
know. Oh,
yeah.
I know. I learned in one in a pool
So fun
somewhere
fact,
in the
everybody.
middle of
Colorado.
downtown Denver.
Yeah, and you do your certification at Chatfield Reservoir. Yeah, totally.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know.
Yeah, mhm.
I don't know why we scuba dive. It's
I
great.
don't know. It's funny.
Colorado's strange.
Yeah,
Yes, it
Weird.
is.
We're
Yeah, it is.
fucking weird.
Yep. hmm
you know.
I
But
thought we were bad.
well, and now, and here's one of the problems though. Here's one of the issues. So if you're from Colorado, you know this. Literally, half the population from Colorado is not from Colorado because so many people have moved here. And no, literally, I think it's like I literally think native
Oh, yeah.
Coloradans are like 40% right now. It's like
it
that's
went
it's
down a
heavy
ton.
duty
When people started moving here, native Coloradans started moving out.
because it's too expensive to live here now.
Yeah.
So,
So
Oh, that's why I
back
don't
when
live
I
there
was
anymore.
keeping
Right.
tabs, in the last 10 years, I don't know what the statistics are now, but we had 800,000 people move to
Yeah.
Colorado.
right. So
I don't know how many moved out, but
and
yeah.
and they're like 80% of them are from Southern California or Texas, and so everybody gets here and nobody knows what the hell to do. So it's just like a
Yep.
mess.
By the way,
Yep.
California drivers suck. I mean,
Always.
California, they
Tex-
suck.
Texas,
They're really aggressive.
yeah, that's true. And they
Big
don't.
cities.
Yeah,
I mean, they kind of have.
it's
to
a
be,
great
though.
it's a great mix. It's a great mix of like nobody knows what to do. It's chaos in the streets. I try to stay away from it. I stay inside as much as possible now.
See, I try to lead by example. I'm like, look, I'm getting over in the right-hand
It's
lane.
not gonna work.
I'm not gonna pass you, but like, I slow down
Dude.
and people like freak the fuck out. They're like,
Okay.
you're slowing down. I'm gonna slow down, even though I was being aggressive and gonna pass you. I'm like, just fucking pass me.
So I
You
le-
can have it.
right. So I legitimately experienced something incredibly frustrating today. I was driving to meet my friend at Thai Diamond Cafe, which is a lovely Thai food restaurant, and this guy in this like four-door passenger vehicle in the left lane. I was in the right lane. It's just like a residential street. It's a 45. We're going down Wads, or no, Skipling, and he's over in the left lane. Guy throws a green glass bottle out of his window past my truck, and it smashes into the a million pieces in the like gutter on the other side. It's like, what is wrong with you?
Oh
Like,
no!
Colorado thing, like not littering and conservation is like drilled into your head from the time you're very wee. because mountains, and it's about, we're very, fittest state in the country, most like outdoorsy place in the country. So like, don't litter. And so there was a thing inside of me that was like twisted a little bit, like, oh,
Oh, no,
like,
thank you.
Also, he could have hit my truck. What a dick. Jeez. Anyways.
Kick his ass.
All right.
Yeah.
Thank you to Jake, though, Big Bad Moon, because he treated me to that Thai Diamond Cafe,
Mm-hmm.
and it was so good.
Good.
It was so good.
Super good. I have leftovers. That's all.
Jealous.
Anyways.
We
So,
should get started here soon.
Anime. Anime? Anybody know what that is? You heard of that?
No. No.
What is
never.
this thing you say? Anime?
So,
What?
it's
Never in my life.
It's this wacky thing. So there's this show. I don't know if you have heard of it. It's called Akira. It is an anime. It was a manga. I wanted to talk about. So this is the show we watched this week. If everybody here has seen Akira, it's a lovely story. I'd love to get into some of the differences later on about the manga versus the anime, because I've read the manga. This is the first time I saw the anime. There are some major differences that are ridiculous, like huge, and
I'm excited.
they have to. It's fascinating. It's a very fascinating thing to watch. So, Hellspawn, I hear you really like Akira. Is that right?
Yes. It's probably my favorite. I mean, it's the godfather of anime in America.
Sure. I would say that's not an untrue statement. I would also say that it is perhaps also the godfather of manga in the U.S. Because it was
I would agree with that.
One of the first major manga, though originally when it was published in the U.S., and I think it was also published in Japan this way, it was published read from left to right, top to bottom, just as things in the U.S. are published, and not like most traditional anime or most traditional manga, which was kind of a weird thing. I think a lot of people were upset by that.
Yeah, I got to be honest. I've never read the manga.
Yeah, that's fair.
But as for the movie, I know it back and forth. I actually just watched it again today to get caught up on it again.
Especially
but yeah, for its time, I would be willing to argue that if it wasn't for that movie, we wouldn't have some of the anime we see today.
Oh, sure. Oh, yeah. No, totally. Okay, so before we get into anything too crazy heavy, Panda.
Yes.
What's Akira? Tell me what is that? What is that? Is that?
I'll do the best that I can, Big Bad Moon. So for me, Akira is a story about a couple of like gang kids trying to make it out in life. Like they're orphans and they join a biker gang and they're just kind of living life day by day. And then out of nowhere, during one of their biker gang battles, they run into a kid. And then the one that ran into a kid ends up getting superpowers. And so that's when we learn more about Akira and the beings of Akira and what they want Akira to be. Or Akira. I say Akira.
That's fine.
Yeah.
That's fine. I mispronounced all the names in this. Yamagata.
Okay. And so we just go on the journey about learning the powers and what is Akira.
What?
That's all I got.
What is Akira? That's fair. To be clear, anybody, you pronounce it how you pronounce it. If you read it, this happened to me a bunch of times in all kinds of stuff because I read a lot. Watching this film, because this was the first time I've actually seen the anime. Watching it, I was like, wait, where's Yamagata? And then I was like, oh, they pronounce it something else. It's not. It's some other. It's yeah. And then of course there were some characters that were not there. But man, you should have heard me after I saw the Count of Monte Cristo movie, because that is one of my favorite books of all time. And when I first read it, I did not know how to pronounce things, French names, not even a little bit. So it was embarrassing. So Plus, I mispronounce everything. Don't worry about it. Interesting. So yeah, I'd say that's relatively accurate. I think biker gang, a bunch of kids, kind of punk kids, driving around, and they run into some kid
Neo Tokyo.
Yeah, Neo Tokyo 2.
2019, things blew up. Like,
oh yeah, right. They're not wrong. They were a year off. Anyways,
Was apocalyptic.
yeah, they run into this kid who happens to be like psychic. This is the shtick in this. There, people are. I'm gonna call it psychic, even though it's kind of has some other weird stuff going on. And there, it turns out there's a crazy government or corporate conspiracy thing where they're turning people into psychic people for the power or something like that. And they just kind of get mixed up in this. There's a lot of destruction. There's a lot of interpersonal struggles, some of which they left out of the anime, which I was very sad about. Some of which were kind of in there. Yeah, and in the end, what happens? I guess everybody...
Tetsuo explodes.
Tetsuo explodes.
He gets so overpowered. I mean,
yes.
My thing with the anime is it's about a kid that pretty much is the picked on, the black sheep, and he gets drunk with power.
Sure, exactly.
I mean that's the main takeaway of the movie. I always thought.
the black sheep, I think he feels like he doesn't want to be taken care of.
Right.
He feels like he's like people want to take care of him and he turns them away.
Right.
And so when he finally gets power, he's kind of an asshole.
Right, totally.
Drunk with power
Kinda.
completely.
So interesting. Okay, so here is that is an interesting point we have. So my question then is this: so we know what happens in the story. What is this story about?
May I rephrase you?
Go ahead. Rephrase me.
What is
Translate.
the main objective that this story is trying to tell? What is one word that is this story?
Not necessarily one word, but yeah.
Well,
but
like, what is the arrow? What
What's-
is the launching point?
or in the biz, what's the shtick?
Exactly,
Just
yes.
shtick.
Stick. I like that.
I don't know. That one's hard to, I guess, describe, isn't it?
Yeah,
I mean,
it's true.
like I said, the guy's drunk with power. So
Right.
your takeaway is, to be conscious of what you're doing. Don't allow yourself to be overtaken like that.
That's true. This is, there's a couple of themes like drug addiction, for instance. They kind of skipped over this.
They did.
They hinted at it, but drug addiction was a major part of Tetsuo's journey in the manga, which I really wish they would have, because Tetsuo becomes God. You're comparing books to movies,
Yeah.
But okay, so in the manga, Tetsuo. So I'll go back actually. What's his name? The main character.
Canada,
Oh yeah, Kaneda.
Canada, whatever you want to say it.
Yeah.
I think I called it Kaneda. Anyways, Kaneda. He ends up trying to turn his life around and be responsible, and he has a job, and he's trying to kind of redeem himself for kind of a lot of the issues, like a lot of the problems that he had when he was a little bit younger and he was in a biker gang and stuff. And so this is a really big struggle for him. Tetsuo ends up becoming the leader of the biker gang, and has a huge drug problem because the drugs that he's taking help him a little bit with his headaches and his problems. They referenced this at one point in the manga where he takes some pills or something like that. And I was like, because the pills, somebody wore a pill hoodie, which was seemed like an Easter
Yeah,
egg.
the name of their gang is supposed to be the Capsules.
The capsules. Oh, right.
Yeah.
So this was interesting because there was a big theme for Tetsuo with drug addiction in the manga, and they didn't have time for it in the anime. It felt, because there's a lot of territory to go over in this. But yeah, so Tetsuo certainly has some problems. I will say they were a lot more generous with him in the anime than they were in the manga. In the manga, he's a little bit more of a sociopath. He's a little bit more crazy, and he's not as sympathetic. I think in the manga, he's a lot less sympathetic as a character. He's more like just, oh man, he's like gone mad with power, and I don't know how to feel about him. In this, he was a lot more. They were giving you a lot more with respect to how to empathize with him. So that was fascinating. That was a fascinating thing. As far as
because I was gonna say in the anime, you almost felt like Tetsuo victim.
Oh, say again.
Okay.
I think
Victim.
Oh yes, he is. He's certainly in the anime is kind of a victim, and you do feel bad for him for everything going on with him.
Getting all skippy.
I think I might be losing Hellspawn. I hope I'm not losing you guys. Hey, you hear me, Panda?
I'm still here.
You're there?
I can hear.
Oh no,
everybody.
it's getting skippy on some of our.
I hope it's not my internet. It's been a rough week. But yeah, no. He's been very. Tetsuo is a very interesting, sympathetic character in this, and there was definitely a lot of themes of like them trying to get through some of the difficult situations that they're put in New Tokyo, or was it New Tokyo or Tokyo 2?
Neo Tokyo.
Neo Tokyo. There we go. But yeah, so that was very interesting. And then, okay, so what do you think of the whole of Akira? Like, the shtick with Akira and the psychics and stuff like that. What do you think, Mandy? Mandy, you got any thoughts? Or Helen? It'll never happen.
No, it never happened. No, like, I thought the character building was pretty good. There were times I was a little bit lost, if that makes sense.
Sure.
I felt like, okay, wait, who's friends with who? Who's in what gang?
Sure.
Like,
A lot of characters.
there was a lot going on.
Mm-hmm.
But at the same time, I really, usually animation bugs me, especially like character drawings, stuff like that. I felt like their drawings of them, I felt like they really tried to ground each character.
Yeah.
Even if a lot was going on. And also, I wanted more.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
I felt like I didn't get, like you said, like the drug addiction thing. I
Sure.
didn't get all of that when watching the anime. I got maybe a hint. Like, ooh, like a hint of cilantro.
Right. Sure. Yeah, no, it's interesting. Yeah, no, it's very interesting. Panda, what are your thoughts?
I was confused a lot.
That's
when
fair.
I was like, I mean, I was like, okay, let's watch it. Let's give it a chance. Now that I'm older, let's see if I can get some stuff that I didn't get when I was younger watching it. Nah, I still didn't get a lot of it.
Yeah, that's fair.
It's like I have a lot of questions, and so
Okay, so what's
I think.
Or go ahead.
No, what was your?
I was just say, give me a question. I'm curious. What are the questions after watching this? What are the questions that you have for the show?
Oh my. So like, why were they scared of blood? Like I don't know if it was ever explained, because like, he cut his foot. Tetsuo cut his foot, and then they're like, "Oh no, blood!" when he was in like the hospital, and then they ran away. Like things like that. Like I feel like a lot of things weren't really explained.
Yeah, they never explained that.
Sure.
The Esters never explained why they were afraid of blood. But
Interesting.
I always
like,
marked it up to them being sheltered
Sure.
and held back from everything and pretty much raised in that whole laboratory.
Right. Yeah.
well, I thought about that too, but I feel like there should be more. There's probably more to it than that. Like it's just there's like little things like that just weren't explained in the anime very well.
Interesting.
So, yeah.
No, that's very fair.
So, yeah, I was just really confused a lot.
That's fair. That's fair. There is a lot going on. This is a movie where there is a lot going on. You have a lot of different characters. You have a lot of different plots intersecting, a lot of different character arcs. So if you're not like, either already kind of informed about what's going on, or if you're not like really on point, then it's probably very, very easy to get lost within the show. Holland, what are your general thoughts on Akira?
Beginning was really solid. Like I
Sure.
was like, okay, I'm
The
along
animation.
for this ride. Like not even the animation, like the storytelling.
Sure, yeah.
Like okay, this gang, the clown gang, there's weird mutant people. Like, let's go. Like let's see where this unfolds.
Sure, yeah.
And then the middle kind of got muddy.
Mm-hmm.
And then I felt like they ended really solid as well.
Interesting. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
But
Interesting.
Yeah. So I was very, I don't know. I wasn't left satisfied by the end, but
Sure.
I wasn't left unsatisfied. I was like, okay.
Interesting.
But what?
No, that's fair. I think that's very reasonable. So this is the first time you've seen this, and Mandy, and this is the first time you've seen this, Panda, or this is the second
No.
time, but you saw it your ages ago, or
This time
20
it's
years ago.
yeah, same. Like I watched it
Sure.
growing up with like my family or my brother or something,
mm-hmm. Right.
and then I probably watched it again in high school and then again now.
Interesting.
So.
So this is always interesting because this is one that I've I read the manga and I quite love it. It's a classic. Like I would call it a classic piece of, not even just manga, but a classic piece of science fiction, just kind of in general. So I'm very familiar with it. I'm very familiar with the story. And Hellspawn, you seem you're pretty familiar with this and you've loved this for a long time as a piece of science fiction. So it's always interesting. I think it's very interesting to get people's opinions on it that just haven't really spent very much time with it and don't really know it very well. Because especially if you're like a hardcore sci-fi person, which I am very much, love sci-fi. A lot of the times these things can be a little bit harder to like penetrate into when you're not like versed in it. And then if you have something like a really complex narrative that is being condensed from, I think this is like a 5-volume comic, like big, like it's probably like that thick, into a 2-hour movie or however long it was, 2.5 hours, something like that. That is bound to get kind of confusing.
Well, you also got to remember it was done in 1988. Too.
Right. Totally.
So the translation and trying to condense that at the time,
absolutely,
there was going to be, it was bound to leave people. Yeah.
Absolutely. Yeah. And this is actually
It was catering for a specific audience.
Well, and when I think of this in translation, and like definitely before, like 1980s, early 1990s, there's a lot of issues with translations, and so I kind of break this into 2 eras. There's the pre-Cowboy Bebop era and the post-Cowboy Bebop era, when everybody saw Cowboy Bebop, which I think is one of the best dubs of an anime ever made. Thank you, Charles. Appreciate it. And so I think Cowboy Bebop's dub set a new standard for dubs, and I think ever since then, dubs have gotten better and better to try to rise to that. So before that, especially in the 80s, some of those translations are rough. This is why there was literally a joke about like Chinese and Japanese translations because they were terrible. But anyways, so this is interesting. It's science fiction. It's kind of weird. They're psychic people. There are mutations. There's a kind of a classic trope now, which is Tokyo was destroyed, and here's the new Tokyo. Bunch of great like classic elements in it. Again, this is one of the things that made it a classic. This is okay. So it's a show that I would definitely recommend to people who watch science fiction, because if you like science fiction, if you're into science fiction, there's a lot of good stuff in here. I would also say if you like science fiction, you should go read the manga.
Do you call it science fiction or science fantasy, though?
Okay, so
How do you define those?
This is an interesting question. I can observe the conflict here. Hellspawn, actually, I'm curious what you think. What do you think? Is this a science fiction or is this a science fantasy?
I think it's more of a science fiction mixed in with a little bit of cyberpunk.
Right.
For the time,
Sure.
the Japanese cyberpunk.
Mm-hmm. Totally.
So
Absolutely.
I think I would lean more towards science fiction in that manner, just because of the cyberpunk aspect of it.
Absolutely. Well, and so this is this is a really interesting thing when you look back at kind of the history of science fiction and fantasy. In the 80s, there were like nowadays, psychic things are a lot less common in science fiction. There are movies based that are just like about a psychic person, or actually usually it's somebody who just can use their whole brain, which is a silly concept because everybody uses their whole brain. But, and then they become like a psychic know-it-all monster and can destroy the world. But back in the 80s and the 70s, it was really, really common to have like psychic people and that's being a more common part of science fiction because that would have not been something that people thought of as fantasy necessarily back in the day. Although back in the day there was less distinction between science fiction and fantasy. So like psychic stuff, especially in this kind of capacity where they're like, it's kind of weird. They're little school kids, but they are like old now, and they have psychic powers because they were experimented on. Less so, science fiction has gone in a direction that is a little more grounded. That's more based in what we know about science, and it's less speculative. These still have like warp drives and stuff like that, but it's not like Star Wars. I think is the perfect example of just like science fiction fantasy, because it's science fiction, but there is like the Force and there are ghosts and people can see the future, and it has no basis in science whatsoever. Whereas the psychics in Akira, the shtick is that it's science. The sixth is like they experimented and they did some stuff and they are now they've connected with some power that's making them super powerful. So it's kind of based more in science. These days, it's really kind of uncommon to see that kind of thing in science fiction. Unless, again, it's like, somebody takes a magic pill and they have 100% of their brain or something, which is a stupid plot.
So when you explain, I love that though.
Wait, what?
I said I love that
when
movie.
You explained it.
Sorry.
I think.
Sorry.
Oh, yeah, no, you're good. Nobody's perfect, Panda. It's okay.
I know.
But thank you. Yes, I appreciate it. Yeah. So it's fascinating. Science fiction has a very interesting history, and it's only in the last like 30 years that people make any kind of distinction between science fiction and fantasy, because it used to all just be fantasy. But there has become a point where people have to be like, wait a minute, so these are really two very distinct genres, and they can overlap, and they can do it well. I think it's hard.
Star Trek is considered science fiction.
Star Trek,
whereas Star Wars, science fiction fantasy.
Right, absolutely.
Yes.
And then if there are some subgenres there. One of my favorite, completely underutilized subgenre of science fiction fantasy is Numenera. Do you know what Numenera is?
No.
So Numenera is a wonderful genre that is so underserved these days. There is I think it was Isaac Asimov, I think it was Isaac Asimov or it was Arthur Clarke, I don't remember. Science fiction writer said, any sufficiently advanced technology to us appears just like magic. So, like, if you go 2,000 years ago and you have a big plasma screen TV and it shows you pictures from all around the world, 2,000 years ago, the people will just be like, what? Oh, and then same thing, flight. Go 40,000 years ago, a lighter, any technology that is sufficiently advanced to someone just appears as magic. And so there's this idea underpinning the Numenera genre. So in Numenera, you would have potentially, I'm not going to limit it into a box, but potentially you'd have a Lord of the Rings fantasy universe. And in this Lord of the Rings fantasy universe, there would be a wizard, and the wizard would have a power stone that he'd be using to conquer the world. And the power stone would have all kinds of, writing on it and symbols, and it would look kind of electro chippy, and there'd be big, actually there's a very good argument for the King, or what is it called? A very popular science fiction or a fantasy series, The Shattered Plains.
We need more to go off.
Say what?
Like we need more to go off of.
I know. So there's this fantasy, and there's this fantasy story, and there's this place called the Shattered Plains, and it's this giant desert plains, and it's just like a bunch of canyons, but like the way it's described. Say what? Oh, the Stormlight Archives.
Stormlight.
Yes, the Storm. Sam knows.
That's what that was your password.
Got it. So, in the Stormlight Archives, there's a big plain. It's called the Shattered Plains. It's a desert, and it's cracked open. And the way they describe it in the story, it feels like it's a giant, like, ruined science fiction city that's covered with, like, stone from, like, this stuff raining down from the sky. It doesn't say that. But, like, when you read it, you're like, is this a science fiction city? Like, did a spaceship crash in the middle of this or something? But it's Fantasyland. So, Numenera, you can have different flavors of this. So you can make it less obvious. You can suggest it. You can make it more obvious. But the idea is that underpinning the universe of this Fantasyland, there is, extinct science fiction civilization technology that people don't understand to the point where it seems magic. And so that is the explanation for magic in the universe. Fabulously creative and interesting genre that is incredibly underserved. It's called Numenera because there's a story called Numenera.
There's another word for it in literature. They call it magical realism.
Or magical realism, although I think that tends to be used more broadly than Numenera does.
Yeah, I would agree.
Like Numan.
Magical realism has a grounding in realistic things, but something weird is happening, and even they think it's weird.
Man era.
I believe it's literally just Numenera. Yeah, that was it.
Okay, is one word En?
Yeah.
I'm trying down.
Of course, it's hard to find. It's a fantasy role-playing game.
Okay. But
interesting. Anyways, random aside, there is a genre called Numenera. It's lovely. I wish there was more stuff in it. But yeah, so let me see. What were we talking about with respect to Akira?
Yes.
Akira being
science fiction versus science fantasy.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
I said it was science fiction.
Right. Yes. So, yeah, we would probably me and Hellspawn would both say that we say it probably fits into science fiction.
yeah.
Though, depending on your outlook, if you just think that psychic stuff is the most silly nonsense thing ever, some people would argue that it's fantasy. That's fine. But it was much more common in like the 80s, 70s for that to be part of science fiction.
Right.
But okay, so this is interesting. So here's an interesting question. Given the information we know about this and how you two have received it and how you feel about it, who would you recommend this particular movie to? Would you recommend it? Helen, thoughts?
For me, I might recommend it to somebody who likes science fiction, who hasn't really touched anime, because I feel like it would give them a
interesting.
good taste.
Okay.
I don't feel like it would be like, okay, I like science fiction. This is kind of like Neo Tokyo. This is new.
Sure.
And I don't feel like it dates itself enough to not be interesting.
That's fair. That is fair.
I feel like Rurouni Kenshin dated itself enough that I wouldn't necessarily recommend that.
I think there are only very subtle animation stylistic animation choices that date it a little bit, but it's really not noticeable. Some of the explosions and the way some of those happen in the fires, you can kind of see are pretty 80s, but generally speaking, it stands up to be relatively modern. Hellspawn.
It's very 80s.
Yeah. Hellspawn, what are your thoughts? Who would you recommend this to?
Anybody who is now getting into anime and want to see where it pretty much started.
Oh, yeah.
For a history
Definitely.
My daughter was a huge anime person, and she had never seen the movie.
Oh, nice.
So I was like, you have to see it. This is your go-to because this is where it started.
Sure, yeah.
No, science fiction, people that want to sit and actually think.
Oh, yeah.
Like, because this show takes a lot of thinking.
I would agree with that.
You have to pay attention. Because even at the end, you're still not certain if Akira was a real person or just something inside of you. So you kind of got to watch and try to interpret that. And again, going back, it's 1980s, so things got lost along the ways. But yeah, that's who I would recommend it to.
Interesting. Yeah, no, very much. I think definitely it's as far as the historical value of the show, definitely fascinating. I think the landscape, as well as, Akira, I think definitely, as a manga and as an anime, laid a lot of groundwork. Because again, Akira was one of the first major manga in the U.S. And it was published left to right, which really helped it in the U.S. Because especially at the time, the markets were not so as okay with reading like a Japanese style right to left. But reading it left to right, that could happen. So what would we have the manga we have today without it? And would we have the anime today we have without it? Well, probably not. It'd be interesting. But
you also got to remember, Akira got thrown $5.5 million at that time to be made.
Wow.
Which was outrageous.
Yeah, that's pretty good.
Any kind. Yeah.
Sure. Yeah, and you know what?
So for anything of that, 5.5 million in 1988 was just a godly amount. So
yeah, that is an ungodly amount. My goodness. Yeah, that's very very interesting. Definitely a very interesting historical piece of anime that does stand up animation wise. All right, Panda. Thoughts?
I mean, I definitely tell people hey, or I don't think I really recommend it to anyone.
Sure.
Because again, if I don't get it, and I
totally
put people in my same mindset.
Yeah, sure. You can't. Yeah, I mean, it's hard to recommend something that you don't yourself like. Right.
I mean, I don't dislike it. I love the anime. I love the music. I think it did a great job.
Mm-hmm. I thought the animation was outstanding.
Yeah, it was beautiful. I loved watching it. But yeah, there's a lot of more psychological and thinking behind it that's just really hard to pinpoint without reading it, obviously.
Well, sure, yeah.
But definitely enjoyed it. Overall, so.
No, for sure. Yeah, and that's so. It's a tough one for me. Would I recommend Akira to people? I wouldn't recommend it to a first time anime watcher. In the same way that I wouldn't recommend Akira to a first-time science fiction reader. It's pretty heavy. There's a lot of stuff going on. There's some weird concepts, and I think it has enough Japanese-ness to it that it's bizarre. There's mutations, and people turn into goo monsters, and it's interesting. It's weird. I would definitely recommend it to people who watch science fiction, love science fiction, like some of the classic anime. Again, if you're a anime history person, especially in the U.S., totally, a really, really important piece of anime and manga with respect to how the genres have proliferated throughout the U.S. for the last 30 years. It would have very likely been very different had Akira not existed in one or either of those forms. Definitely something I'd recommend to people who are just curious about it. And it's really decent. It's great animation. I was really impressed with the quality of some of the bike riding and some of the motion. Really beautiful. If you like animation and that's your stick, if you're going to watch it in the background and you're not going to pay any attention to it, there's a lot of really interesting stuff that happens, and it's beautiful. I think it's really beautiful. Go ahead, Ham.
A lot of movement.
There's a lot of movement.
So, a lot of animes nowadays skip the background movement.
Oh, yeah.
and I feel like they really didn't. So
Oh, no.
really appreciated that.
Yeah.
There's always something going on, even if it was in the background.
Yeah.
And I was like, well, damn, that's kind of cool.
Yeah,
things are breathing, living.
The movement, the art, the bar was really high. In this movie is incredibly high, and it makes sense because the original the manga, the artwork was incredible. I can't remember the author's name, but this was like one of his masterworks. Some of the artwork in the comic is just absurd, and some of these there's giant splash pages of buildings collapsing to the ground and rubble. Must have taken ages to do one panel. Just amazing stuff. So they've kept that high bar with the animation, and that was awesome to see. So if you love animation, and that's your shtick, is just like you love animation, I definitely recommend it. You might get weirded out because there's some weird stuff going on, but it's anime. What's new? But yeah, so that's how I feel. It's pretty solid. I'd recommend it to people who like science fiction. If you like animation, if you're getting started, probably not. This is not one I think for the beginners. In science fiction or in anime.
My beginning animes. As a kid, I feel like I liked it more because I could suspend.
Oh yeah, no, that's fair.
I didn't understand.
Right.
I'd be like, I don't get that, so that's fine. As an adult, I would say
it's a little harder to forgive. Yeah.
But I don't know why.
Okay. Let's move on to the differences between these shows. We have about 10 minutes left. I really want to talk about this. The biggest difference, spoilers, guys, if you haven't read this or if you haven't watched this, obviously. The biggest difference between the anime and the manga was in the manga, Akira's alive and is a person. And he's not in the movie. And it's like, but it's called Akira. Like, he never wakes up. That's incredible. Like, half the story takes place after Akira wakes up. Not half. Like, a third of the story takes place after Akira wakes up. Neo Tokyo is destroyed again. And a feudal society, a semi-feudal society springs up with Akira as the leader and Tetsuo as the kind of second in command, who's kind of leading Akira, this young, naive child who has unfathomable power around. Tetsuo is trying to kind of manipulate him and guide him and be his, like, mentor almost. But Akira's way more powerful than him. This is like such a major part of the manga. I was like, how is this not? I mean, I get it's a time constraint, yeah. But Akira just doesn't wake up. Akira's like a bunch of organ tubes. Like he died or something. I don't know. That was shocking to me. Did you Hellspawn, did you know in the manga that Akira's alive?
I did. I actually do know a little bit about it. I haven't read it myself, but I do know a little.
I recommend it.
That was one of my main gripes about the movie.
Sure, yeah.
Was again, they didn't explain what exactly or who exactly was Akira. They kind of left it.
They kind of glossed over it.
Yeah, they told her that Akira's an everybody.
Right.
So then you start believing that it's just a thing.
They made it a little bit spiritually almost, like...
Right.
Yeah.
They godly, yeah.
Which was weird. Akira,
and that's one downfall to the movie that I always thought. Because my wife is even watching it. She's like, wait, is this a person? Is it... And I was like, it's kind of hard to explain it through the movie-wise, so...
Totally, yeah.
Like,
and this...
I think they made it more spiritual, for sure.
Yeah, it was interesting.
Akira was like the son of, like, maybe Jesus or something.
Right. What is Akira? Yeah, no, totally. So, and this is crazy. So, because in the manga, Akira is an immensely powerful psychic being that is a naive, child and who doesn't understand the world. And that is a wonderful combination for destruction. Is an all-powerful, incredibly naive child being led around by somebody who is not well-adjusted. So the reason that Akira is in the giant vault is because the only way, and I don't know if this came across in the movie, but the only way to stop Akira, because you can't stop Akira because he's an all-powerful. He's almost God. He's super powerful. Is to basically freeze him down to almost absolute zero, and that doesn't kill him. That just makes it so he is moving so slowly that people can continue on without Akira destroying their stuff because he's just moving very, very slowly. So the only way to contain him is to just freeze him to the point where he can't move, or he's moving just incredibly slowly so society can continue. And that is why he's in this giant underground vault in this big room that's super cold and everything. It's all the technology.
Yeah, they teased it in the movie, but they never explained why.
Like why that was
in the vault.
And we had some very sad in the manga. There are obviously a lot more characters in the manga. There's a very sad character death who dies when the vault gets breached and the absolute zero temperatures come and freeze him, and he's like, but there's a bit after Akira gets out where Neo Tokyo's collapsed. Like, it's explosion, we're back to like decimated city, buildings fall over, and it's like an autonomous zone, right? It's just like wreckage, and there's people scavenging for food, and there's gangs and like mass like horrible stuff happening. And so the government sends in like commandos, which is a character who recurred earlier in the story, to try to like hunt down and assassinate Tetsuo or Akira or something like that, or like figure out what's going on in like this dark zone now that is Neo Tokyo, the destroyed Neo Tokyo. And Akira's awake. It's so fascinating, very interesting. That was, generally speaking, this was relatively on point. They left out a couple things. Was it Tetsuo's drug addiction and him becoming the leader of a biker gang, Akira trying to overcome his like follies in the past and live a decent, honest life, and trying to be just a normal person, and being an honest person. That was interesting. They kind of left that out. There's just a lot to get into it, and I get where they had to cut corners and just like try to make it, as like, try to capture what this show was. And they definitely didn't have time for like the stuff that when Akira got out, because that's just a lot of stuff to cover. Like a third of the story, maybe I'm overestimating that. Maybe it was like a fourth of the story. A large portion of the story is what happens afterwards, after Neo Tokyo gets destroyed again and Akira is out. I think there are 5 volumes, and I think it was probably the last 2 volumes, or maybe midway through the second to last volume. But yeah, no, super fascinating. That is my thoughts. It was very interesting to see how they tried to adapt such a large story. It's like Game of Thrones. It's like Harry Potter. How do you turn all of this material into a consistent, cohesive, like screen narrative? You just can't put it all in there. And because of the nature, I think, of Akira and the show and how it all fit together, and how everything going on, it's hard. That was a tough one to get on screen. I think they did a good job for the 2-hour something movie they had to work with. There was a lot left out, but like I don't see how they could have put anything else in, because it was dense. Maybe 3 movies they could have captured it in most of its entirety, but not 1 movie. Still good. I enjoyed it, but yeah, so much to get in. I would have, if you were to hand me that script and be like, or hand me this manga and be like, "Hey, make this into a movie," I'd be like a movie though, like 1, because damn. But they did what they did well. I think the animation is super on point. All the acting was really good. Design was great, and they put in most of the stuff they had. Did Tetsuo did Yamagata have a tragic death? I don't remember.
Yamagata.
Did he get psychicked into shooting himself?
No.
No.
Oh, that was such a sad moment. He was one of what is his main character again? Kaneda, yeah. He's one of Kaneda's best friends from the biker gang. He's trying to, be better. And this is actually one of the things that finally gets Kaneda to try to like better himself. Is Tetsuo makes Yamagata psychically shoot himself, and it's real sad because it's like And he's like,
yeah,
yeah, I
think in 1988 they couldn't really put that.
That's true.
I mean, but they did
That's
have
true.
that almost rape scene in there too.
Oh yeah, that was, yep, they did have that in there. Yeah,
There
1988.
were boobies.
There were.
There
Hey,
were.
Trying to
I
capture.
mean, that's
like-
almost a trigger. You know, you kind of have to tell people trigger warning for it these days.
No, that's fair.
because-
Yeah.
Yeah, because I got kind of
Yeah.
violent for the 80s. Even it was like, holy
Yep.
cow.
Especially for animation.
Yeah.
Like, because again, this was.
Personally,
yeah.
I appreciate those trigger warnings because, like, I'll still watch it, but at least I can prepare myself for it.
Right.
Right.
Yeah, no, for sure.
I completely forgot that was in there until I was watching it again today. I was like,
So, yeah,
oh,
shit, that's
wow.
really bad. Ugh.
Yeah.
No, totally. Yeah, but so Akira, interesting show. Lot of stuff going into it. A lot of thoughts on it. We do only have like 2 minutes left, so we'll get some brief final thoughts. Helen, do you have any final thoughts on Akira the movie?
I think it's a great, like you said, historical movie. I
Mhm.
think if you're into sci-fi and
Yep.
you're into anime, it's a great find.
Mhm. Oh, sure.
Definitely read the manga.
I
feel like-
agree.
Yeah.
Because it's awesome. And there's like 5 giant volumes. It'll take you forever.
Yay.
Mhm.
That's my
Sure.
final thought.
Hellspawn, your final thoughts on Akira?
Beautiful animation.
Absolutely.
I mean, still to this day, beautiful animation.
Oh, yeah. Stands up to anything.
They are talking about making a live action, which I really hope they do not.
Oh, yeah. That's.
Yeah.
Ooh.
Scary. Yeah,
I think I've
PTSD
seen
kicks
one.
in
I
from
know.
all
I've
of them.
seen
So many-
one animation where they were like, they did the live action decent.
Yeah, no, they're doing
Oof.
they're trying to get a live action one made,
So
and I hope it never comes to that.
I feel like because Akira is so, like, for the time anyway, kind of hard science fiction, it's a little more hard sci-fi. It's not quite like, it's not Cowboy Bebop. I'm not going to see the live action Cowboy Bebop because I don't want my heart to hurt that much. I could see Akira, but I'm working, but I have very low expectations. We have a grand and
After Ghost in the Shell, no, I won't
oh yeah,
see it.
no, we have a grand and time-honored
My
tradition of
grandmother
butchering anime with live
hates
action.
anime, and she watched Ghost in the Shell. She's like, such a cool movie. I'm like, it was so bad.
Yeah.
It's like, look at the shiny lights. Yep. No, very okay. Very
I didn't see the live action. I refused.
the live action Ghost in the Shell, yeah.
I don't want to. As I said,
It'll ruin it.
Panda, final thoughts. Akira.
I really like the animation. I really love the movie.
Mhm.
I like the
Yep.
time period. I like,
Oh, yeah.
Just the background, everything, not the internal. Everything.
Oh, totally. Yeah.
I love just like the side stories as well. Like it,
Mhm.
like you can see some of the struggles that they were going through, and just kind of like where they grew up and all that. So I think it's overall really a great story that I would love to read someday and like get more into. But definitely for what they had, I think they did a
Oh, yeah.
decent job. But yeah,
Oh, absolutely.
they definitely made it pretty for what they had.
That they did. It was a very pretty. Show.
Yes, indeed.
All right. Well, we are just out of time. This was Akira. We just talked about Akira. It was interesting. We gave our thoughts. Thank you, everybody, for joining us. It was lovely. Thank you, Hellspawn, for joining us. It was lovely to have you here. Where can people head to if they wanted to get in on this giveaway you were talking about?
Twitch.tv/Hellspawn42.
Twitch.tv/Hellspawn42 for
Yes.
an awesome
You
giveaway.
have to be a follower to at least
There-
get into it.
Or Spawn 42, right?
What's that?
Are you Hell_Spawn 42? or
Yes,
are you
I
Hell-
am.
oh,
Sorry,
yes,
Hell
underscore.
underscore spawn.
Gotta
Sorry,
give a follow.
I'm just known as Hellspawn.
I got you.
Perfect. Well, go ahead and check that out if you're interested. _Hellspawn42. Twitch.tv. I'm sure you'll find it. Thanks, everybody, for coming and watching. Thanks for joining us. Have a lovely night. We will see everybody later.
What are we doing now? next time?
What are we?
Oh, yeah,
shit!
what are we
Oh
doing?
man, false close. That's a
False
good
ending.
question. Oh my god, what? I don't know. What do you want to do next time?
So, okay, go.
Wait, no, you first.
Mine's new.
What's yours?
Mine's ReZero the next season.
Oh,
I haven't even seen the first
that's
season
true.
yet.
That is true.
So good!
Right.
Sorry.
I was thinking doing a Miyazaki.
You were thinking what?
Doing a
Oh, that'd be interesting.
Miyazaki.
A Miyazaki film would be kind of interesting.
That would
Huh.
be nice. It would kind of be a break, too. 'cause
Sure.
Trying to kind of do movies, because we haven't done a lot of movies.
Oh, that's a good idea, actually. I think we should do that. When are you going to do Miyazaki? What Miyazaki film should we do? We're not doing Nadia and the Secret of Blue Water. Because that show sucks. I don't care what people say.
What
It's
about...
really bad.
Wait, I got
which
some.
one? Which
Porco
one?
Rosso? What did you think of Porco Rosso?
I love Porco Rosso.
You want to do that one?
Wait. Which one didn't you like?
Nadia and the Secret of Blue Water. And if
I
you
don't
think
think
that's a good show, you are wrong.
I wasn't thinking that one. I was thinking Nausicaa. Valley.
Oh, Nausicaa in the Valley of the Wind. No, that's a wonderful show. If you want
What's
some,
that one?
Gillian Anderson in it, by the way.
say what?
Gillian Anderson?
Oh, right.
Fucking, from X-Files.
Yeah,
Too.
from X-Files.
Goalie.
The very same. Yeah, absolutely.
Scully!
Yeah.
Scully. Gillian Anderson, you had it right the first time. It's okay.
Yeah. No. I love
Yeah.
That's
that
her
story.
name, but, like, her character name.
Sure,
I also
sure.
have. We could do another like manga / movie because I have the 7 series manga that
Wait,
I have.
I loved the Porco Rosso idea. Porco Rosso is such a good movie.
That's also a good one.
I liked Porco Rosso.
And Porco Rosso is I like
Do you want to do something fun? Let's do something fun. Porco Rosso.
Porco Rosso. Yeah, I love
Porco
it.
Rosso.
Perfect.
Let's do it. Okay.
All right, join us. Okay, next time, guys, we're gonna be. This is gonna be. That's the 3rd of April. April 3rd. We're gonna be talking about Porco Rosso. It's a Miyazaki film. It's probably available in a bunch of places. Go watch it. It's lovely. All the Miyazaki films are lovely except for Nadia and the Secret of Blue Water.
HBO Max is all of them.
Thank you for joining us. This is our final inning. Bye bye, everybody. Pretend there's music. Boop-a-doop-a-doop, 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 boop-a-doop-a-doop.